Hi, today's offering is 2 turtle doves. See you in a minute. Welcome to the second in the series. Today I'm looking at doves, and again I'm not going to be obvious and make some sort of carving or origami dove. So I went off trawling the internet and I found that doves symbolised ever faithful love, friendship, devotion. Didn't really get me very far. I then popped turtle dove into YouTube, and that yielded a piece by Rafe Vaughan Williams with the subtitle of tenebrae, and it was a word I hadn't come across before. I listened to the piece and it wasn't particularly anything interested me, but again it's all about broadening your outlook and things that you look at and listen to. But it transpires it's the Latin for darkness, and there's a religious service held at Easter, which candles are extinguished one by one during the service, and that gave me the hook I was looking for when the word candles came up. Candles are traditionally displayed on a hearse, a candle holder similar to a Jewish menorah, and in this instance I referred back to a Scandinavian candle bridge that I'd got from IKEA some time ago. That's the Advent Luskar, something you've seen earlier when I was mending it last year in the early part of the year. It's got very tired, it had stopped working. Well, I've mended that, but more importantly it no longer fits in with the colour schemes in our living room, so I decided that it would be a useful thing to refinish this and then make it usable for this year. So that's what I'm all about. The lights are working. It's now a case of stripping down the Advent Luskar or whatever it's called and refinishing it. So let's see how we got on with that. This is what we started out with, the blue candle holder that I'd repaired much earlier on in the year, or if I can't even remember, it may even have been before last Christmas. But the problem was that it's blue and our lounge is pretty much orange and charcoal colours, and it no longer fitted in with the scheme. So I started to strip it down and get the random orbital sander on it and give it a good clean, get as much of the blue stain off as I could. Proved a bit of a problem because there's so many awkward shapes in there, but the little spindle and belt sander that I've got, the Triton, proved to be an absolute godsend for getting that right. Drop the table down to get the 45-degree bevels sanded and all sorts, so that was really quite useful, and then a hand sand to get it out the grooves. Water-based stain, looks like it's Polish. Let's see if it's any good or not. Nice. Certainly looks promising. We'll probably want 2 or 3 coats to raise the grain and then sand it back, and that's more the look we were expecting. Perhaps in hindsight I should have given it a squirt with water before I started, just to raise the grain, and then you can knock it back with a bit of sandpaper afterwards. But this will serve, because it's water based, it'll do the same thing. That gets rid of the blue, which was the aim of the exercise. Even if there's any traces left, it overwrites it effectively. Probably want a cloth as well instead of tissue, because that's just disintegrating, but just thought I'd give it a try out on a small piece first, just to check that it was suitable. It was easy to resand this if I had to, but no, that looks pretty much what I wanted it to. So I'll let that dry. I'll probably give it a very light sand, maybe another coat, and then we'll have a go at the main bridge once it's dry and I'm happy with it. Now the stain I'm using is something I got off, I think I got it on eBay. It's Bartek water-based stain, lead grey, and I think it's Polish, the origin of it. I got it from www.indelle.com, INDELLE.com. First coat didn't go on particularly well. It just basically filled most of the grain and raised it a lot. It needed knocking back with a little bit of sandpaper, but when I put the second coat on, it really came in as a nice deep charcoal. And then I dug out the beeswax, gave it a polish up with that, which has brought it out into a nice sheen. And again, most of the time was taken fiddling around with all the grooves and odd corners of this thing, because it's not an easy shape to do a lot with. Candles had got a bit grubby over the years, so they were given a good wipe down with some isopropyl alcohol, my sort of favourite cleaning material of choice. Comes in, but I get it by the litre on eBay, probably 4 or 5 litres at a time, and get through quite a lot of it. And then just put the whole thing back together. The wiring didn't need redoing, it was just held in by a sliding piece of MDF in the bottom. I just needed to reconnect it up in the base, and then once that was done, effectively screw the light bulbs back in, plug it in and see if it worked. And then it was just moved into the lounge, where it can go onto the mantel shelf or in front of the fire, ready for Christmas. So again, what have I learned? Well, I didn't know the symbolic meaning of love, friendship and devotion that was a dove. I wasn't familiar with the Ralph Vaughan Williams piece. I've learned about various religious, Catholic, German, Jewish, Scandinavian candle holders. I've mended a damaged item, and hopefully just generally expanded the mind a bit. So join me tomorrow when we can see how far away from 3 French hens I can get. See you then. Bye!